Hi and welcome to my channel. I am Teenie Crochet's and today I will be continuing with my Kawaii crochet theme and I'll be showing you how to crochet these adorable peas in a pod. So for all the items that you will need, don't forget to check the description box below, and other than that, get your crochet hooks at the ready and let's get going.
So I'm going to start by showing you how to do the peas. So you're going to make 3 of these. So with green DK yarn and my 3.5mm hook, and this is a lighter green yarn, I'm going to slip knot onto hook and I'm going to chain 2. So 1 and 2. Into the second chain from hook, so we're going to skip this first chain, and into the second chain I'm going to do 6 single crochets all into that chain space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. For the next round we're going to increase from 6 stitches to 12. To do that I'm going to do 2 single crochets into all of these stitches. So I'm going to increase in every stitch. So into the first stitch I'm going to single crochet for 1 and 2. Into the second stitch, I'm going to single crochet for 3 and 4. Into the third stitch, I'm going to single crochet for 5 and 6. Into the fourth stitch, I'm going to single crochet for 7 and 8. Into the fifth stitch, single crochet for 9 and 10, and into the last stitch I'm going to single crochet for stitches number 11 and 12. So we now have 12 stitches, and on the next row I'm going to increase from 12 to 18. To do that I'm going to single crochet in one stitch and then do 2 single crochets into the following stitch 6 times. So I'm going to single crochet for 1 and increase in the next stitch, so I'm going to do 2 single crochets into the next stitch for stitches number 2 and 3. Single crochet for stitch number 4 and increase in the next stitch for stitch number 5 and 6. Single crochet for stitch number 7, increase in the next stitch for 8 and 9. Single crochet for stitch number 10, increase in the next stitch for 11 and 12. Single crochet for stitch number 13, increase in the next stitch for 14 and 15, single crochet for stitch number 16, and in the last stitch of this round we're going to do an increase for stitch number 17 and 18. So we now have 18 stitches, and on the next row we're going to increase from 18 to 24. To do this I'm going to single crochet into 2 stitches and then do 2 single crochets into the following stitch 6 times. So I'm going to single crochet 1 and 2 and increase into the next stitch for 3 and 4. Single crochet 5 and 6. Increase in the next stitch for 7 and 8. Single crochet 9 and 10, increase in the next stitch for 11 and 12, single crochet 13 and 14, increase in the next stitch for 15 and 16, single crochet 17 and 18, increase in the next stitch for 19 and 20, and 20, single crochet 21, 22, and increase in the last stitch of this round for 23 and 24. So we now have 24 stitches, and I'm going to single crochet around these 24 stitches for 5 rows. So I'm going to single crochet around and around and around for 5 times, and when I'm finished or nearly done I'll meet you back here. There we go. So I've now finished my 5 rounds of single crochet, and it's time to start to decrease at the opposite sides of our P. So we have 24 stitches and we want to decrease to 18. To do that, I'm going to single crochet into 2 stitches, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 stitches together, and I'm going to do that 6 times. So I'm going to single crochet for 1 and 2, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 stitches together for stitch number 3. So to single crochet 2 stitches together, I'm going to take my hook, insert it under the front loop only of the first stitch, take it straight under the front loop only of the second stitch. So there are 3 loops on my hook. I'm then going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So there are 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through both of these loops. So I've just done a decrease for stitch number 3. So let's single crochet for stitch number 4 and 5. Now we're going to decrease for stitch number 6 again. So let me show you how to do that decrease one more time. So take your hook and insert it under the front loop only of your first stitch. And then take it and insert it under the front loop only of your second stitch. So there are 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So there are 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through both of these loops. So we've just decreased for our 6th stitch. So single crochet for 7 and 8. Then decrease for stitch number 9. Single crochet 10 and 11. Decrease for stitch number 12, single crochet 13 and 14, decrease for stitch number 15, single crochet 16 and 17, and decrease for 18. So I'm going to pull up a loop here and I'm going to insert my eyes before I go any further. For the P's eyes, I'm using 6mm safety eyes. So these are the smallest safety eyes I can get. And I'm going to place them between the 4th and the 5th row. So counting down, we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. And I'm going to insert them after the 4th row and before the 5th row. So there's my first eye. And then I'm going to count 3 stitches over, 1, 2 and 3 on the same row and insert my second eye. So, there we go. So we've got our 2 eyes in place, 6mm eyes, and they're between the 4th and the 5th row up and down, and they have 2 stitches between them. So now I can put the safety backs on. I can reinsert my hook back into my loop, and then I can continue for my last round of decreases. So we have 18 stitches, and on this next row we're going to decrease to 12. So to do that, I'm going to single crochet into 1 stitch and then single crochet 2 stitches together 6 times. So I'm going to single crochet for 1 and then decrease for stitch number 2. Single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, single crochet 5, decrease for 6, single crochet 7, decrease for 8, single crochet 9, decrease for 10, single crochet 11 and decrease for stitch number 12. So we want to now join the yarn and fasten off. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch to join, and I'm going to chain 1 and fasten off, and I'm going to leave about a 6 to 9 inch tail because I will use that to close the bottom of our P in a second. So now we have to stuff our P. So with whatever stuffing you use, some people use yarn tails, but I've got polyfill. I'm going to stuff my P. And when you're happy with its stuffing, you're going to take this yarn tail and you're going to pop it onto an embroidery needle. And then at the bottom of our work, we're going to pick up the front loop only. So the front loop of the remaining 12 stitches. So I'm going to go round and pick all the front loops up in order. and when you've got all the stitches, you're going to pull tight to close that hole. And then I'm going to weave in this yarn tail. So now we need to add a mouth onto our pea. So I'm going to be using some black yarn and my embroidery needle again. I'm going to be putting a nice simple mouth on this one. So I'm going to bring the black yarn in from the back of the work, and I'm going to sew a small V into place for this pea's mouth. So a small V, and then take the yarn out the back of my work. So there's his mouth, and then I can weave in these two yarn tails. And the last thing to do to complete our pea's face is to give him some rosy cheeks. So I have a blusher that I have bought just for using on my dolls. It's a really cheap blusher. All I'm going to do is press my finger into it, and I'm going to rub some blusher on either side of my pea's face to give him some nice rosy cheeks. And that is how to make the pea. So you need to make 3 of these, and I've already done the other 2. And I've given them all different smiles. Now I'm going to show you how to make the pea pod. To make the pod, I'm going to be using a darker green yarn than I did with the peas. And to begin, I'm going to slip knot onto hook, and next I'm going to chain 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22. Next I'm going to single crochet into the second chain from hook. So always remember to skip the first chain, and into the second chain I'm going to do a single crochet. I'm now going to do a single crochet into the next 19 chains. So 19 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19. So that leaves us with 1 chain left, and into this last chain I'm going to do 3 single crochets all into this 1 chain space. So into this last chain, 3 single crochets. 1, 2 and 3. These 3 single crochets are going to allow us to rotate our work, so we are going to work in the back of the foundation chain that we just created. Normally with crochet we would chain 1 and turn, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to continue to work around the bottom side of the stitches we've just made. So into these bottom sides, into these stitches here, or the opposite side of our foundation chain, I'm going to single crochet across 19. So single crochet into 19 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19. And that leaves us with 1 more stitch on this row, which is the first stitch from the previous row or the previous round, and into this last stitch I'm going to do 2 single crochets. So 2 single crochets into the last stitch, 1 and 2. So now we have a piece of work that looks something like this, and we're going to be working around it to make our pod. So to begin the next row, we're going to do 2 single crochets into the first stitch. So 2 single crochets into this first stitch. 1 and 2. Now I'm going to single crochet across 19 stitches. 18 and 19. Now I'm going to do 2 single crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. 2 single crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. So 1 and 2 into the first stitch. 1 and 2 into the second stitch. 1 and 2 into the third stitch. And now I'm going to single crochet 19 down the opposite side. So single crochet another 19 stitches. 1, 18 and 19. So there are 2 stitches left of this round, and into these last 2 stitches I'm going to do 2 single crochets into each of them. So 1 and 2 into the first stitch, 1 and 2 into the second stitch. So after that round your work should look something like this, and we now have a stitch count of 50. For our next round I'm going to begin by doing 2 single crochets into the first 2 stitches. So into the first stitch I'm going to single crochet 1 and 2, and into the second stitch I'm going to single crochet 1 and 2. Now I'm going to single crochet across 21 stitches. So 21 stitches. 1, and 21. Next we're going to do 2 single crochets into each of the next 4 stitches. So 2 single crochets into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2 into the first stitch. 1 and 1 and 2 into the second stitch. 1 and 2 into the third stitch. 1 and 2 into the fourth stitch. Now we're going to single crochet 21 stitches on the opposite side. 1, 21, and into the last 2 stitches of this row we're going to do 2 single crochets into each of them. So 1 and 2 into the first stitch, 1 and 2 into the second stitch. So we now have 58 stitches, and we're going to single crochet around these 58 stitches for 12 rows. Now if you're no good at counting rows, I would advise that you put a marker here so that you can count 12 rows from this position. And normally for a marker I will use a piece of scrap yarn, and I will hook stitch. So I will insert my hook into a stitch and pull this yarn tail through, and then I'll create a slip knot with this yarn tail. And what I will do now is I will count 12 rows from this mark. So when I finish my 12th row I will meet you back here, and I will show you how to finish off with our peas and our pod. I've finished my 12 rows, and just to confirm I'm going to turn my work to the side, and where I put my black marker I'm going to count 12 rows up and make sure it's correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got 12 rows from where I place my marker in. And now if I zoom back out, I can finish the last few of my stitches. And then to fasten off with this yarn, I'm going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 1 and fasten off. So I can cut this yarn tail and pull through. So here is my pod pocket. I'm going to press it flat, and with the yarn tail I'm going to pop it onto my needle, and I'm going to sew the bottom 4 stitches together just to give our pea pod a little bit more of a pea pod look. So at the far end, if I zoom you in, I'm going to put my needle under 2 consecutive stitches, then bring my needle back over and put it through the next 2 consecutive stitches. So the 4 stitches at the very end, the very tip of this side of the pod, I have sewn, or I am sewing together. So pull that through. I'm going to just go over them a couple of times to secure, and then I'm going to pass my yarn to the inside of the pod. And I'm going to weave it in on the reverse side. So I'm going to weave this tail in on the inside of the pod. There we go. Pull through, and I'm going to cut that yarn. Then I'm going to go over to the opposite side, and I'm going to join this yarn in the end stitch. So if I press it flat, I'm going to insert my needle into the last stitch and tie a knot to secure, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So pressing my work together, I'm going to go through 2 consecutive stitches 4 times, or twice, sorry, 2 times, so 4 stitches in total. And then I'm going to insert these yarn's tails to the opposite side, or the wrong side of my work, both of them. And then I can move you back out, so both of them onto the wrong side of my work. And I'm going to weave them in on this side. And this is where the magic happens, because the only thing left to do is to take our little peas and to pop them into their pod. There we go. How happy do they look? And it's so easy to make. This is a really good gift to give to your best friend. They're like peas in a pod. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up now. It's free and it really helps me out. And I'm not joking when I say that, it really does help my channel out. If you do end up making these peas, don't forget to tag me on Instagram using the tag #Teenie Crocchets. And other than that, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.